What up brothers, it's Clipper King returning for another new review. Welcome back to my channel. The figure I'll be reviewing today is the Hot Toys Iron Man Mark 45 from the Avengers Age of Ultron. I will start off by saying that this figure was a little bit of a bitch to track down and to finally secure myself one, but I did it. I'm happy to hunt, I'm happy to ask around, I make it known the figures I want, and I eventually got hold of it and I'm buzzing to have it in hand. I bought this one because I knew it would make a good review, and also I wanted to get it in hand, have a good look at it, compare it to the Mark 42 and then decide which one I will keep. That will probably become clear during the review, and then I will possibly do a comparison video in a couple of days time. But in this review I will try and cover everything. I'll give you the scores on all 6 categories, let you know my total feelings, show you how the figure works. I'll probably not do an articulation test on this because it's very similar to all the modern Iron Men, but I will show you how the lights work, and I will try and get you some nice dynamic poses using this figure and talk you through my thoughts while I was doing those. So let's crack on and start getting some scores on the doors. So let's start as always with packaging. And as you can see, it's the very typical box that we get the die-cast figures in. Where the DX boxes used to be the flagship boxes of the Hot Toys range, these have now replaced them, I feel. They're a lot harder, a lot more secure than the standard box. There's a lot more money goes into it, you can feel it, and you can see it, to be honest. The layer on layer, the polystyrene packaging, the way it opens, it is just the, like I said, the top of the range box that we're getting from Hot Toys at the moment. Just to show how it works, in fact I'll talk artwork first. You can see it is just a shot of the figure's head sculpt with the Avengers A and then the Avengers Age of Ultron titles. Moving down, the Iron Man Mark 45, and then at the bottom you see Movie Masterpiece Series die-cast figure. So if you think of any box from the Mark 42, 43, the Robocop box, if you've seen any of those, then you've pretty much seen this with a slight change to the artwork. I will also apologise to start with that you are going to see the light bouncing off the box from the camera, simply because the plastic coating, it just reflects it all. You can even see the lens of my camera there. You'll probably pick up a lot as well with that on the figure, because it is just a very high gloss figure. Looking down, you do see the Hong Kong hologram, the Marvel hologram should I say, and then on the other spine of the box it is just the hand. I do like the artwork, I do like the sort of plastic coating across the artwork. It's non-removable, but when it lifts it sort of keeps the plastic and the top of the box together. There is a divide there, as always. You lift the top section off and then inside you see the polystyrene, like so, with the laser cut Mark 45 lettering on the outer box. That section opens to reveal the figure, and then if you rotate it, there is another clamp that pushes into the back of the polystyrene or styrofoam, depending where you are in the world, which has the base, the flight poles and other bits and bobs. Then at the back, just to show the choke hazards and warning. All in all, the box ticks all the boxes. It's high-end, the artwork's good, the functionality and sort of the protective quality are all top-notch. So for that reason, the packaging gets a 5 out of 5. Moving on to the likeness, and before that, we'll just look at the pose. As you can see, I've gone for my own variation on the sort of ground pound landing pose. I will say as well, it does get into that position pretty easily. I know with some tweaks and little movements here and there, it would look more accurate, but I went sort of for my own variation, my own spin on it. So, talking about the facial likeness, so let's get in and have a look. First thing that hits you, anytime you get close to the face, is it is highly reflective. Sort of metallic paintwork, really high gloss, really good looking. I've got to say, of all the head sculpts of the Iron Men that I've seen so far, it is my favourite, and by a pretty long way if I'm being honest. Bear in mind, I've seen the Heartbreaker and the Peacemaker and this one and that one. I can't even name everything that I've seen. But for all those, I always really liked the Mark IV, but kept the Mark 42, mainly down to the feel of it. It's a little bit too gold for me, but I didn't see the price difference between that and the 43 reasonable enough to swap a 42 for a 43. So I thought I'll just wait for the next die-cast red one. I was close to getting the Mark III, but then I thought, well, the 45's not far away. The 46, is it 46 or 47? I'm losing track, I'll be honest. But the new red die-cast ones, I'll probably pick up one of those. When I saw this one, I thought that might be the one to get. But on the faceplate alone, I like the really harsh and really sunk sort of intake ports. So I'm thinking sort of ear and ear, the side sort of where the ears are, the really sunk channel sort of ear, just under where the cheekbones would be. I also like the really sharp lines on it, sort of leading from the forehead down into the eyes, across where the mouth would be. It's sort of really well indented, but then sort of filled in with a black wash. And it just gives it a really good look. It's got a really mean look about it. I said on the unboxing that not only does its shape resemble the Iron Man that I sort of grew up with, which is this version, but also the head sculpt gives off a really mean version like I think it was the Ultimate Iron Man. I think they did a run of comics called The Ultimates, and Iron Man looked something like this. And I just see that sort of in this, mainly in the head sculpt. I think the paintwork is amazing. I think the shape of it is really good. And also another way they've improved, they have made it a lot easier to open the upper head section so that you can get to the batteries. I think I might even be able to do it left-handed. The instructions pretty much tell you to nip the sides of the head together slightly and pull them back. I just don't want to. So it's as easy as that. You see at the back of there's a little magnet which attaches to the back of the head. The batteries are in, the switch is there, and the lights are like that. Then to put it back in, you just put the sharp side sections back into the grooves. You can open it up a little bit if needs be, but it doesn't really need it, and it will just drop back in really nicely. So I do love that about it as well. It's a big improvement on some of the likes of the Ant-Man and the figures that they're just absolute bastards to open top at fucking helmet up so you can switch the lights on, and then the lights aren't that rewarding when you've done it. This one is really good. I like the really white eyes, as you see, and like I said, getting to the switch is really nice and easy. Another thing I like about it is the head articulation. As we see the neck here, the neck is there, sort of rotate it freely, and then there is a section on the neck that will drop down so he can tuck his head right in as such, but also come right back, so you could get a really good flying pose out of it. So that's another thing I like about the head. Looks alone, paintwork, sculpt, amazing. Whether it's accurate or not, I really don't get too fucks. I just look at it and I think, is that the representation of Iron Man that I want in this collection? And at the minute, I've got to say yes. Obviously, there's some really good ones coming. I'm not interested in the Hulkbuster. I couldn't give two shits about that. But the other highly read ones, the Civil War version, I can't remember the numbers, I'm sorry, a little bit unprofessional. But I do like the look of that one from Civil War as well. But I think, of the ones that's released, this has got to be the one to get, I'm thinking, on looks alone. So I like to say I'm going to give it a 5 out of a possible 5. That would be to say that I think it's totally accurate. I'm not even saying that. I'm just saying it's really to my taste. I hope you like that pose, because I do. I threw it in it pretty quick, but I've done it mainly because I know if I don't do it, that's going to be the pose that people would have asked me for. Moving on to his outfit. And obviously I ain't got to tell you, because you're all Clipper subscribers, you're not fucking idiots. It's not an outfit as such. It is the armour. So I'm going to score it on the armour we see. First things first, show you the pose. I'm going for him double laser blast, so you see the pink beams emanating from his forearms as he's sort of flying into a position. He just I don't know, gets his into an upright position, maybe coming to a standstill. He just fires them. Fucking look at that. Boom! Get some light through him like that. It's beautiful. Anyway, let's talk. I've already covered the helmet. Moving down, the styling of the figure, I would say, sort of takes from the human form. So by that, and this is what I mean when I said it looks like the Iron Man that I remember, its sort of panels look more rounded and muscular. The middle section looks like abs. The chest plate looks like pecs. Even the shoulder muscles are rounded to give him this sort of the deltoid form. So, like I say, it looks more like a muscle man in a really tight fitting armour. It's not as mechanical looking and bulky for the sake of being bulky. And I really like that about it. It's really sleek looking, very sexy, I suppose. And when you look at the paintwork, I hope this camera can sort of show the metallic flecks in the paint. I would say it is the best painted Iron Man that I've ever seen. There will be better authorities out there than me to say that, but of the ones I've seen, it's definitely a cut above. Like I've said before, the Mark 42 is really good, but the quite flat colours, where this has got depth. It's like a metallic paint with the a varnish on the top, and it's really nicely done. Predominantly red, as you can see. I'm trying to show you the panels and how they move. We are actually doing an articulation test. You see all these flaps move, stay on the upper foot. That stays around the Achilles section. Moving up, you see the curves in the legs and the sort of the cutaways, the sides of the knees. It's really nice. But on this knee, I've demonstrated that the knee pad does split, so it is in two sections to give the leg a really nice bend. But again, it looks very mechanical inside and very realistic. Looking up the legs, as you see on the outer part of the quadricep, you get this cutaway section here again, which looks very nice. And on the inner section again, with a cutaway, you can actually run your finger inside it. It's just a really nice touch. Moving up into the hips or the pelvic area, again it is split into these flaps that will move out of the way when articulating, and do move really nicely, I will say. Again, this one's still stiff because I've not had it long, so they do move. But again, the curved theme got a very nice human feel about it. Or it reminds me, I'll tell you what it reminds me of. Do you know Lord of the Rings? Particularly Fellowship of the Rings. If you watch the extras disc on that, they make a point about creating armour for the different people in Middle Earth, and they say that because of the dwarf's temperament, the sort of armour is very bulky, very aggressive looking. Man's armour is very much like men of the past on Earth, so to speak. But then they talk about the elves, and particularly the Rivendell elves. They have a very organic armour to them, very curved, very elegant looking, and that looks like this. If you think about that theme, that's what you get with this. The nice curves. Particularly if you look at the forearm, look at the form on the forearm, the different sections there. That's what it feels like to me. It's been sculpted with a bit of elegance, a bit of class about it. Let's just say that. Again, it is predominantly red within sort of gold and then silver in the sort of depressed sections. The barrel in the shoulder works like the Mark 42 and Mark 43, so they will pull in and out, move, sort of swivel forward and back to give good articulation, as you can see. And then moving around the back. Again, the same theme, but I like the depth of it as well. It looks like there could actually be a human inside it. The sort of the chest to the back, it does look good. You can see this sort of as I've pulled it away and used the articulation through the middle section. It does still look natural, very well engineered. They are getting better, obviously, as time goes on. They're probably using more and more parts for these Iron Man figures, and you really do appreciate them when you get them in hand. Just to show you the flaps opening, which is hard to do without getting my hands all in shot. You got the flaps there, like so. I think we've got some flaps here. Should have probably done this off camera. But again, the inner workings, looking really nice. Really nice. Same when you take the chest section off to put on the battle damage one. I will show you in a bit. The inner chest looks really good. The pop out sections that the pink laser sort of presses into, again, nice touch. I've seen the forearm missiles before on other Iron Men, but this one just again looks very sleek, very I don't know, very organic. I suppose that's the best word for it. I think others have probably used it, but it is definitely right. So really good armour. Like I said, again, I'm not saying it's 100% accurate because I ain't got enough time on my hands and I'm not boring enough to sit there and go through every fucking still from film. It is basically the last scene of Age of Ultron. It is the only time he wears the 45 outfit. And like I said, I don't know if line for line it's accurate, but what I do know is it's very much to my taste and pretty much the colours I've been looking for. So I'm very happy with it. Paintwork is astounding. The lights on and off switches are very handy. The articulation is really good again. And again, it's one of them. It poses really nicely. You struggle to find a pose where it doesn't look natural and doesn't look dynamic. So on the outfit, I'm going to score it again a perfect 5 out of 5. Moving on to articulation. And again, this sort of piggybacks on the back of what I was saying about the suit. You see where the articulation points are. But I'm basically just going to tell you whether they work, or if there's any way that I could think that they could work better. Gone for sort of a pose where I've tried to get rotation, I've tried to get his arms up high, a slight bend in the elbows, and then the leg articulation, and more so than anything, the sort of pivot on the ankle, as you can see, which works really nicely. So we'll start at the bottom and work his way up. As you can see, the ankle can be pulled down about 3 or 4 millimeters, and then it allows you to pivot and sort of rock the foot forward and back. When it moves, the upper foot section will float about on the upper foot, but the Achilles section stays attached to the lower leg. Moving up the lower leg, as you can see, when the leg is straight, the armour sort of fits together really nice, really flush. You can see there is cutaway sections sort of down the sides, which is a nice touch. When the knee is open, it breaks up into sections like that. Again, excellent engineering and still looks very robotic but very realistic. See, I've tried to get that foot a little bit flatter but with slight toe articulation. So that gives you an idea how the legs move. The upper leg is a solid part, but then it fits on a ball joint inside the pelvis. The lower section or the undercarriage of the pelvis again can drop down with the press of the button, which is sort of on his arse. I don't know if you'll see that, but it is around the back and that will drop away. At the moment it is closed. It has 2 panels on the sides, sort of there and there, which can move. Just be careful when moving them that the leg is in a certain position, because you don't want to be rubbing your paint together. So you can see the move there. The ab section will lift and push back together, and then it does open up. It has a floating section sort of mid stomach. Can't quite get my finger under it in there. That is the first time I've seen that on an Iron Man figure or work to that extent. So it is really nice. It gives good articulation when rotating or doing a forward crunch or a sort of an arched back style thing. There's articulation where the chest meets the ab section, so there is a rotation in there. And then moving up into the shoulders, it's basically the shoulder sections that they've been using on the recent Iron Man figures. So there is a barrel section. It will pull out probably 1/2 centimetre to allow better articulation. Like this one, this is pulled all the way out, which will then allow the arm to wrap round and go across the front of his body better. That sort of floats and is spring loaded. Is attached to the shoulder section in there, as you can see. Be careful with that, because sometimes when you rotate the arm, the sort of paint of this is clashing against this section, so be very careful again with that, and also the back section's not rubbing against this. Your shoulder flaps are tucked away really nicely on this one, so not too much worries there. Again, as you come round, the neck does articulate quite nicely at a lower joint, but most of the articulation is at the upper ball joint, so that is nice also. I would say if I were pressed that the articulation, I just mentioned the hands are on ball joints as usual, and they do light up at the ball joint. That's the repulsor hand. It does have a set of articulated fingers, but I've not used them as yet. And another thing of note, the elbow does bend quite tight and also can be dropped down probably 1/2 centimetre to bend even tighter than that. So good articulation for any robotic figure, I think you'd agree. I can just show you when you're moving the elbow, how the sort of pad tucks up, the elbow pad tucks up really nicely. So worth displaying that. And also that section will pop up if you get something just underneath. And pull up, try and do it left-handed again. Can I do it? Can I do it? How good am I? I tell you how fucking good I am. I'm the fucking daddy. There you go. So that pops up quite nicely as well. If I were pressed, what I was going to say is, I would say it is a slight improvement on the 42 or the 43. It just feels smoother, a lot easier. It is stiff, will hold positions, but the movement just feels like they're tweaking it constantly to produce a really good articulated figure. Is it as articulated as a true type? Of course it's not. It can never be. It's got too much bulk about it, and its sections are going to clash with each other. So you're never going to pose it like I don't know, like the DX11 Joker or something like a Damn Toys figure. That's not going to happen. But when you sort of allow, or you take into account all the engineering that's gone into it, you've got to make slight allowances. But I do try and score sort of uniformly. So on the articulation, I'm going to give it a 4 because I'm allowing for how good it looks and the work that's gone into it, but I'm not trying to tell you that it will do any move you can think of, because that would be a lie. Moving on to extras. Before we do, show you, got him in a blast off pose with the blast effects that are included. So let's have a look what he brings. As you can see, he does have a set of hands that have the sort of blast effect. Can be used as a repulsor blast as well, I would think, but I prefer to have it like a sort of thruster blast. I think it looks more like that. And so you get a set for the hands that are attached, and then you get a set that will just push into the bottom of the feet because there's a hole on the middle bottom of the foot, so you just push those in. Do look okay. I'm not sure that they look that realistic, but I think it's not bad for a pose like that, I suppose. Just gives the effect. But like I say, I don't know if you're going to use them for some kind of natural pose, but nice that they included them. The diorama base, which is sort of a step sort of situation, and then the support pole goes from the left side as you're looking it up there. Now again, with the diorama base, it suggests where you stand your figure. You can kind of have one foot on the step and one in the central sort of section down there, or you can sort of squeeze the feet together and have them posed side by side. Again, it might have been a little bit better if the pole was central, but it is off to that side. One thing I'm not keen on this with this base is the fact that the sort of cradle is right up at the top of that, and is barely clearing the base. Same thing if you were to put the flight pole on, put that on, you would still have to sort of position him away from the base because they're not quite high enough. They could do with being like 2, maybe 3 inches longer to sort of, not that one that's holding him now because you would use that for when he's standing up, but when you screw that one in, it could do with just being a touch higher for my liking, just so you can get him in a really obvious flying style pose. On top of the base, you do get this sentry, which, as people have shown before, does have a movable head and an arm. I'll just throw it on there and leave it there. Pretty good, quite a squidgy feel to it, quite nicely painted again. Does look pretty nice, got the Ultron look about it, so yeah, quite nice. The 2 laser blast effects, which are quite nice. I thought they were a bit of a joke item, but they're not too bad in hand, I will say. Sort of square peg on the end, and then it goes to like sort of clear transparent and then fades into a nice pink laser beam. Quite a nice touch that they added it, although some people have definitely been posing it wrong, but I don't know, good again that they included it. The second chest plate with the battle damaged sections on it, so the sort of blast marks as you can see here and here, and then the sort of scuffs and scratches up here. Quite a nice piece, but again, sometimes I get a feeling with some of these Iron Man, these battle damage pieces are a little bit of an afterthought. We saw it on the Mark 42. The upper body, you could get it damaged to fuck, but the lower body were clean, like it just come out of the factory. Again with this, you throw on a battle damaged chest piece and nothing else is damaged on it, you think, oh, luckily he's only been receiving shots to his chest, like fucking Jenna Jameson. But yeah, no marks on the faceplate, the shoulders or arms or anywhere that he would be defending himself. So again, I probably won't be displaying it with that. But I'm never going to moan about him adding something, but just sometimes it just don't fit. But anyway, the articulated hands, which are a must with the Iron Man, the nice tight fists, and then the sort of repulsor blast hands with the hole at the back of the hand, so we could have him in a position like that. Again, the clear section in the middle, repulsor, and then you can switch the light on in the forearm, which will show the light through that. I will say, I know I haven't put the forearm lights on, but on this figure, I don't know if it's just mine, you actually remove the inner plate to the arm and the switches inside. Both mine are stiff as fuck, and I get that horrible creak when I start trying to prise it over with this, so it's just not worth it for sake of review. So the hands do light up, but I haven't shown it. As I said, the tool for sort of prizing the parts open, the battery, collection of batteries that come, including the Hot Toys little screwdriver that you can see there, the crutch cradle, which can attach to the stand that's on there, the bendable dynamic flight pole, and then the instruction manual. As I pull away, you'll see it does look like it's broke quite a lot, and like I said, because the diorama base would sort of get one score, including the sentry, collection of hands, and then some weapons. It looks like a lot, but it's not really. It's not loads and loads. The main thing it's missing is a Robert Downey head sculpt, or a mask that opens, or even a damaged faceplate. People might say it didn't show that in the film, but these are key things that you need to put into these figures when they cost as much as they do. So for that reason, like I've said, the shelf looks quite full, but the extras are only getting a 3 and a possible 5. Right, moving on to value. What we do, show you. Got the Age of Ultron version Captain America, the Age of Ultron version of Iron Man, the Mark 45. So that's the scale of those. Just to show you. Looking at each other as if to say, I'm not really happy about your stance on things. And Tony's saying, I don't give a fuck about you, whether you're happy or not, my friend. I'm going to do what the fuck I want to do. That's what he's thinking. So, I don't know, it could lead to some kind of war. Like a civil war, I'm thinking. But anyway, let's talk value on this bitch. You pretty much all guessed, I've paid in the region of £300 for this, which I don't like paying, not one bit, as you know. But there's certain figures and you think, fucking hell, if I don't pay £300 now, I'm paying £350 at fucking some point. Plus, it's one of them figures you think, I can buy it, if I don't like it, or if I hate it, I can sell it. Or you can think, I can buy it, and then I've got to sell the figure that this is going to replace, and then what I can knock off on that figure, is this figure going to be worth it? And either way I slice it, I keep thinking to myself, paid way over fucking odds for this figure. But if it's going to be an Iron Man I keep for a length of time, then I can sort of justify it to myself like that. But no 1/6 scale figure should be in £300 range. Unless it's a custom and there's only fucking 3 of them in world, then no figure should cost that. But I'm telling you, because I like to be honest, that is in the region of what I paid. Is it worth that? Not one bit. It's worth probably in the region of 240, 250 at the current climate. If a Captain America's worth 200, then an Iron Man maybe 250. You do feel the quality, I'm not going to lie to you. You know that there is a lot of work goes into these figures. Most of you will know that. It is a touch above. Like I say, if I only could have one Iron Man now, what would it be? I could honestly say this. You're possibly thinking, has it replaced the Mark IV in looks for me? I would say yes. Simply down to the paintwork. The shapes are very similar, very sleek looking, and I like both for that. But when I look at the old Robert Downey head on that figure, I think to myself, don't look that good now, but this one doesn't even include a Robert Downey head, so I do take that into account as well. So yeah, it does replace the Mark IV on looks for me. Does it replace the feel of a Mark 42? Yeah, I've got to say it does. The smoothness is just something very, I don't know, very pleasing to your hand. It's like, think about this. You know, sometimes you eat a chocolate bar, like Toblerone for example. It tastes fucking beautiful, doesn't it? But you put it in your mouth and it feels fucking offensive to you. It doesn't like, shape of it don't fit your mouth right, but then you get something like one of them old dairy crunch bars and it's sort of curved on top, and when you put it in it fits into the roof of your mouth nicely and it just feels right, so it makes it taste that a little bit sweeter. That's how this feels in my hand. I hope that fucking makes sense to you. If it don't, fuck you. That's what I want to say. But anyway, yeah, so it is the Iron Man in my opinion. But to get a score on value, like I say, it's way overpriced. It's new release stock, and I know all the pre-orders have been split up into sort of 4 different day release because so many people pre-ordered it. If that's the case, there might be plenty circulating, but I don't know if them fuckers out in Hong Kong are going to buy them all up, put them in museums, and we'll never see them over here. I don't know what it's going to do. I get a funny feeling that it's going to be more like the Mark 43 than the Mark 42. By that I mean you can get a Mark 42 in region of 180 to 200. A Mark 43 for some reason is the 250 mark. I think this will stay quite high, mainly down to the colour I'm guessing, but I don't know, I could be wrong. It's been known before but not very often. So yeah, the value, I'm giving it a 2 out of a possible 5, because even if it does blown up in price, I've still paid a fucking shitload in first place. My overall thoughts, I've just told you, it got a 24 out of a possible 30, which is a pretty good score nowadays. I think you people waiting to pull the trigger, I would say if you've got the funds, do it. If not, wait for the Civil War one coming out. But then again, get your funds ready because it's going to be in this price range. There's no way them Hong Kong sellers are going to let them out the fucking grasp for out less than this price now. That's how it seems. Do I like it? Do I fuck? But what am I going to do? Swim to fucking Hong Kong and start sending figures out myself? Well, another review done. Hope you've enjoyed that. If you have any questions, any comments, please leave them below. Please like my video. Please subscribe if you haven't already. And if you have subscribed, don't just sit there thinking, I've subscribed, Rick. I've already subscribed. Go and tell your fucking friends and your fucking friends' families. Let's get this bitch rolling, yeah? But for now, it's the Clipper King, and I'm out of here.